Hey folks, it's Maxwell here and welcome to another TW episode with AEW. Closing in on World's End, we're closing in on the conclusion of the Continental Classic and also closing in on the end of 2025, which is quite cool. That means we can hit the new year and start taking this away from real life and into a completely fictional world. We're here at the Maverick Centre and yeah, I'm optimistic for our booking going forward. As I say, a few storylines progress here. My match card for World's End's at 12 at the moment. It was only at 9 and then I put a few stories together. I'm like, oh well, there's a match there, and like, oh well, we'll give them an opportunity. So yeah, I'm hoping, as I say, it is a good show. And yeah, we can keep those storylines hot. I've used a few storyline angles to try and hopefully boost them up. I feel that's something I kind of always neglect in TW. I think just because you get so many storyline angles, gimmicks, all that kind of stuff, character stuff, especially my if I just blanket, it's like I can't be bothered. But maybe that's a trait that I need to get rid of and start utilising them, because some of them do really help. But anyway, I've blathered on. Sit back, relax for another episode of Dynamite Collision, and of course there'll be shows as well. So if I remember, I think the Maverick Centre is in Utah. I hope. That might be my other show that's in Utah. But anyway, we start the show with an update on the condition of the American Dragon Bryan Danielson after the heinous attack by Kevin Steen. Bryan is at home recovering and rehabbing his neck, and whilst he is not 100%, he is still expected to participate and defend his championship against Kevin Steen at World's End. So a 78 for this segment, and the storyline advances. Straight off and into Continental Classic action, and with a bout that had some great wrestling and good heat. They saw Swerve Strickland pick up the win over Darby Allin in 14:36 with the Swerve Stomp. This was our Steal the Show matchup right off the bat, and they brought an 83 wrestling, 74 crowd rating, and an 83 segment overall. So good stuff there. Swerve on 85, Darby on 81. Both guys with good chemistry together, which lifted the match. We then cut to Paul Heyman in the back, and he says, so it seems to me that a challenge has been issued to my tag team champions, Brody King, Malachi Black. If you think, and then the lights go out. Silence. And then in that Dutch accent, if we think, you're in trouble. Then that leads to the Brody King bark as the segment comes to an end. So a bit of intimidation tactics from the Kings of the Black Throne. A 71 for this segment. The storyline advances and gains heat, and a few babyface turns were hinted at the segment. Next up, we had a decent matchup that saw Becky Quinn defeat Priscilla Kelly in 10-11 by submission. Disarm her, if you will. 66 wrestling, 61 crowd, and a 72 segment overall. Becky with a far better performance to Priscilla. This begins a storyline, Becky's journey. Because after the matchup, after Becky picks up a great win over Priscilla Kelly, Chris Statlander straight in after the bell and starts laying into Becky. Priscilla Kelly gets to her feet and she starts directing traffic and slaps Becky not just once but twice. She then throws her to Statlander, who nails her with a bit of Wednesday Night Fury, I guess, because obviously it's Dynamite. So the storyline advances. It lost a little bit of heat. A 57 segment as we begin Becky against Priscilla and Chris. Next up in the Continental Classic, a good while brawl that saw Mark Briscoe defeat Jay White in 13:43 with a froggy bow. 80 for the wrestling, 72 for the crowd, and an 80 segment overall. Jay White brought a 91, Mark Briscoe brought a 68, and both these guys have pretty good chemistry together. What I like about this one is Mark Briscoe's popularity is pretty much in the ballpark now with these kind of Jay White types, etc. So it's just up to him to hopefully bring the performances. We then hear from him. He says, 3 wins out of 3, and it's time you losers start taking Mark Briscoe seriously. I'm here to win, and I'm here to become a champion. So the pressure's on, Darby's son. You picked up a loss there against Swerve, and you know when that match happens between me and you, it's going to be me beating you, and it's going to be me cementing my place in the AEW Continental Classic final. So obviously these two have still to go ahead against each other. A 72 segment. Yeah, Darby obviously had a great clean sweep record until that Swerve matchup. Next up, as advertised last week and remembered, decent matchup, Mercedes Moné defeats Billy Starks in 12:35 with the bank statement or money maker. 67 for the wrestling and a 73 segment overall. The fact that Billy can get a 61 offer game is pretty encouraging. Mercedes with a 72. We then have some words from Kevin Steen, and he says, what happened on Collision to Bryan Danielson was completely justified, and hell, if anything, it just proves my point. Ever since it's been, oh, how's Bryan? Oh, how could you do that to Bryan? All it is sympathy and pity towards a loser like Bryan Danielson. People will say this is all elite wrestling, you know. Elite? I'm elite. I was part of the elite, and I'm going to show you that Bryan Danielson does not fit the criteria. Obviously, I just mean he was friends with the Bucks, etc. But we'll word all that. Also, I have 2 kick-ass kids at home. And you know, titles equals money, which makes life better for them. So Bryan, do me a favour, don't come to World's Ends, forfeit the title, and we'll all live happily ever after. So their storyline advances, Kevin again with a benefiting from the hot catchphrase, an 87 segment. As Steen is going to the back, he bumps into Daniel Garcia. He says, hey man, what the hell do you think you're doing to Bryan, man? It's just not right. And then Kevin Steen says, listen, what are you going to do about it, Danny? You're just a young kid lost in an adult's world. What, are you fighting Bryan's battles now? And he says, no, I'm doing this out of respect for Bryan, but also I need to be fighting the best. So next week on Dynamite, I'm going to challenge you to a match. And that way, Kevin Steen just does that, lol. Okay, you know what? Fine. I'll send you to the hospital in a bed next to Bryan. So set up a match up for next week. Daniel Garcia, Kevin Steen on Dynamite. 77 segment. That'll be obviously a Christmas Eve edition. Then another extremely short matchup, Zack Sabre Jr. over Scorpio Sky, who just popped up and wanted to have an appearance, so he was doing jobber duties effectively. Submission Barry from EastEnders. Storytelling match of the evening. Simple, effective, giving Zack Sabre Jr. some momentum going into that matchup for the TNT Championship against Samoa Joe. And that was a 55 segment overall. Then have some words from Gianna Daddio and Megan Bain. She says, how incredible are we, the most dominant women's team in AEW history. Look at what we've done to Io Shirai, back at Full Gear, and we still haven't soared since. Hell, we might just do this on the regular. Take out all your AEW favourites and then head towards the top in Championship Gold. Who will I set my Megasis on next? Who knows? And then she says that's part of the fun. And then she just does that laugh that she does. So 83 segment. Yeah, of course. Io's never appeared since that show. Because I've just never fit her in, but still. Anyway, looking forward to progressing that storyline going forward. And that takes us to Dynamite main event time. But they had superb wrestling and good heat. We had Will Ospreay defeat Rush in 2044 with the Hidden Blade. I was worrying about this one because of the lack of psychology, but they passed the test, and the penalty here is mostly for the lack of selling, which, considering last night I just watched Sabata versus Rush, I'm not surprised. But anyway, that was fantastic, as was this. So the wrestling was an 89, the crowd is 71, the segment an 84, and Ospreay takes 3 points. So, the show lost its popularity in 52 regions. That sounds bad to put it like that, but it's fine. We increased the pop in 2. The general feeling is AEW don't have a lot of stories rated hot or over. Right. So basically, before I ran the show, I obviously deleted all the storylines I wasn't using. And obviously, as you could tell, there is some more starting to build up again. So, that'll take a week or 2, but as long as we can get them all, I'm probably going to take like 3 weeks of pop loss and show ratings that quite clearly don't reflect what the show was. And we'll be back in the right place. I really should, as I keep saying, I should have made the Continental Classic a storyline, but just decided to have them have matches. But it's fine. I'm happy with that one. It's just put us a bit of pressure to get those other storylines over. So that was Dynamite. What about Collision? For Collision, we're in the Peterson's Events Centre. And we start off straight away with 2 rivals going at it in the Continental Classic Collision group. And it was a wild brawl that saw some great wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd as Claudio Castagnoli defeats Eddie Kingston in 13:36 with the handful of the tights. 81 for wrestling, a 68 crowd rating, a 76 segment. Both guys had great chemistry together, which brought a 79 and 83 performance. Although, why did we drop to 76? No, actually, it was just the physical condition, actually. I was worried there that declining physical was on Claudio, and I got that in TW 2020 in my save with him, and it just destroyed him. But Eddie's getting that, which is fair enough. Maybe we could work on him. But yeah, a few penalties there. Maybe it's just the end of the classic getting to them. But yeah, 76 is your result. We then have some words from Kip Sabian, of all people, who says, last week on Shockwave, Adam Cole thought I was in his way and decides to land a cheap shot on me for no reason. Well, I'm not going to stand by and take that, Adam. Shockwave, I've had a match granted, and it's me against you. So I'm setting up for a Shockwave match. It is a feud that's going to lead to something, a match up at the pay-per-view. So yeah, we'll start with that. We're 55. Next up, and about to had some decent wrestling and not a lot of heat. We saw Ilya Dragunov defeat the Beast Mortos in 14-12 with the, I'm not going to pronounce that, the Moscow thing. The match was designed to be steal the show. I felt like Beast Mortos was like a dangerous opponent for Dragunov, but obviously gets that momentum going into the match with Walter. 71 for wrestling, a 78 segment. The storyline automatically advances here. 82 for Dragunov and a 61 for Beast Mortos. This leads to a few words from Walter. He comes out and he says, well done, Ilya. It seems to me you haven't lost a step, and fair play, you took on a worthy, dangerous opponent in the Beast Mortos. But lick those wounds and rest up, because I want you at 100%, and I want to go to war with you. This company calls itself Elite. I call myself the International Champion. Let's show the world that the elite wrestlers in this world are international class. So 82 for this one. Storyline gains heat. Hopefully helps us not lose pop overall. Then a little backstage segment, again, some stuff that happened on Shockwave's getting addressed on Collision. He says, Wardlow, what you did last week was incredible. You sent a message to that loser Gargano that this faction is unstoppable. Tonight, however, leave it to me, I've got this. So, a 75 segment, the backbone storyline advances and gains heat. I used the storyline idea, which was a success. MJF improvises well, and absolute Ricky Starks has a morale boost because of the successful storyline idea. Of course, MJF and Gargano takes place tonight. Next up in the Continental Classic was about to have some great wrestling and good heat, as Kazuchika Okada defeats Sami Zayn in 1826 with the Rainmaker. 84 wrestling, 74 for the crowd, and a 79 segment. A good performance from Okada, and 94 is spectacular stuff. Sami, though, just with a 74 negatives here. Both guys' physical condition. Fair enough. The tournament's starting to take its toll. Which is interesting as well, because they're getting a week to rest. It's not as if, they're wrestling on Dynamite. They're getting a full week. But I think a lot of people in the Continental Classic will probably get a decent break after it, and we'll kind of utilise other wrestlers. But we'll see. It's all fine and well, me saying this now and then not getting through with it. Renee Paquette decides to interview Johnny Gargano. She says, Johnny, tonight you finally get your match up with MJF. How are you feeling? And Gargano says, I'm ready, Renee. I'm happy the match is finally happening, and it's time for me to show that I deserve to be here. It's been a rocky start here in AEW, and it just shows the high level of competition that there is here. I know that if I can beat Max, it's not only going to propel me into title contention, but it's also going to shut his big mouth up for once. And then Renee just cheekily adds, and boy, how would we all like that. So a 67 segment for that one. Gargano versus MJF later tonight. Or is it next? I think it will be next. It is next. Good wrestling match. Decent reaction from our audience. And MJF defeats Johnny Gargano in 11:03 with a pinfall victory. Storytelling matchup of the evening. That's just where it was. A 74 for the wrestling. A 75 segment. Both actually quite level in terms of in-ring performances. But MJF gets the upper hand. The storyline advances for the backbone, and yeah, Gargano is left licking his wounds again. Then I have some words from MJF, who says, Hangman, I know that you and your little bucky buddies want your hands back on me. I mean, there's a pay-per-view next week, and I'm sure you'd love that, but I'm not going to let you get your hands on me. You only have 3 guys, and we have 4, so I'm taking the pay-per-view off. In fact, hell, I'll just commentate. So you and your little buddies, your little buckies even, you can do battle with a backbone. We'll run you out of this company. It's going to be you 3 against Starks, Wardlow, and Utah. Hangman comes to the top of the ramp. Now, normally I would try my best to force your hand, but I'm done chasing, because I know if we can take those three out, I'll get my hands on you one more time max, and then I'll spill your blood. So set up that trios matchup for the pay-per-view. Hangman in the Bucks against Utah, Wardlow and Ricky Starks, MJF on commentary. If I can work this storyline the way I want it to, it could be some magical stuff. 90-rated segment. Then we have a little vignette for Mariah May and her feud with Mayu Yamashita for the TBS Championship. Kind of Sable-esque here, it just says they all want to be me, the men they want to see me, but I am more than just looks. I am the top female performer in this industry, and I am your TBS champion, and Mayu, you won't come close to changing that. Simple, effective, storyline advances, gains heat, 62. Getting ready for a main event then, and we have some words from Don Callis. Tonight Takeshita battles a really good up-and-comer in Kyle Fletcher, who we are now starting to see the best of. His improvements since ditching that lightweight Mark Davis have been astronomical, but tonight he battles this man. He's beat Kenny Omega, he's beat the lot, and he is the Alpha Konosuke Takeshita. In this world, of course, Kyle Fletcher has never joined the Don Callis family. I might look at that at one point, but an 81 segment for these two to do battle in the main event. Interesting. I was unsure how this one was going to go, but I'll explain a few things here. So first and foremost, I bout that had superb wrestling and good heat. Kyle Fletcher defeats Konosuke Takeshita in 22-31 with the Grimstone, so a bit of a shock there. So my reason for booking this one, I feel like it was a good chance to propel Fletcher as a solo star. They get 93 for the wrestling, a 74 crowd, and a 79 segment. So a 95 and a 92 is absolutely phenomenal. Obviously pretty good chemistry together. So if you had one as babyface, one as heel, this could be class down the line. You lose points because both of them are heels, which is fair enough. Obviously still in the, I would say, development. They've still got a long way they can improve, both mentally and technically. So you're going to lose points to that. So I think if you book this with them being babyface and heel, and they have the psychology, I think you could be looking at that into the 90s quite easily. But that is definitely one to keep an eye on in the future. You'll see those penalties there. So yeah, overall, a 79, but that's given me a lot of optimism. So 82, the pleasing aspect here is because we worked on the storylines, we didn't suffer that same penalty as Dynamite. I always feel it's good if I get that wee kind of poor show where, because of the storylines, it's not quite working, because it makes me really focus on the next show and make sure I don't make a mistake for a wee while. So I'm happy to correct that one. But that was decent. Improved a few feuds, and yeah, I'll go and book Shockwave, and then we'll cover Shockwave Rampage, and we'll see what else has happened in the main screen. So yeah, let's move to that. So time for the roundup, and if Cody Rhodes is your thing, then he's got a lengthy feud about to start with LA Knight. You've got that to happen with the WWE. You've got Jey Uso is the new leader of the Judgment Day. Interesting. And we got mostly good reviews for Collision. So having a wee look through here to see what directly affects us. El Phantasmo staying in New Japan. Actually, I've signed them in my offline save, but I think in this one we'll just let them stay with New Japan. I don't really have the space at this point for many more to come in. Apart from that, nothing else directly affects us. I say we don't have much space for people to come in. We'll try to poach Thea Hall, but it's one of those ones as well with Thea. I think she's what, 22 in this, 23, 22. So it's like ROH develop, and you'll be really good in the future. Just get 18,000. It's not as if it's. No, it's not if I try to save money with AEW. We're fine in that regard. Ryan Tran, still with WWE now? Oh no, he's with us, we signed him. Oh well, shows you how much, I know. And we'll just get him as referee. Oh, I don't know what merch you're selling, buddy, but there you go, take your... I try and always lowball them as much as I can. It's a good way of saving money. I actually put so many on handshake deals, so I can just let them wrestle elsewhere if they want to. So Collision got 1.3 million viewers, Shockwave got 2.6, so a bit lower than it's been, which is fair enough. Obviously we lost a bit of pop with Dynamite. So yeah, just two things to always round up. We'll start off with our tournaments. So we'll start with the Dynamite group. Going into the final set of matches, well, apart from Swerve, who has an extra match, and so has Mark Briscoe. So Mark Briscoe has a very good opportunity to go ahead and win this. He's got matches against Darby Allin and matches against Will Ospreay. Ooh, big rivalry there. So, we have Will Ospreay on 6 points. He pretty much needs to win and hope for a few of them. In fact, I don't think he can make it because Briscoe's got to face Darby. Swerve, yeah, it's pretty much, I think, down to Mark Briscoe and Darby, because obviously the fact they have to face each other. So yeah, we'll have some friendly competition in the last round of fixtures, but you've got Will against Mark Briscoe to come. You've got Swerve to face Rush and Jay White. So some of these matches will take place probably in a very, very stacked collision. Rush, as we say, has got Swerve. Mark Briscoe has got Will and Darby. Jay White has got Swerve. And Darby Allin versus Mark Briscoe. Slightly less confusing is Collision. So Okada is pretty much guaranteed a spot in the final. The only thing that can change here is if he loses to Eddie and Kyle Fletcher defeats Sami Zayn. That's pretty much all that can change there. You get 4 points for Takeshita. He'll battle Claudio, so it's one of them will have 7 or 9 points there. Okada versus Eddie and Sami versus Kyle Fletcher. So all that to look forward to in terms of the Continental Classic. As I say, the spare matches on Dynamite that I've obviously made an arse of will be on Collision, so it'll be a very, very stacked Collision show, which might leave a few wrestlers a wee bit fatigued going into World's End next week. And if we go to our show history, just to cover the B shows, so Rampage, I went with the Starlight Kid, teaming with Sarii and Riho to defeat the team of Anna Jay, Masha Slamovich and Marina Shafir, which was a 64. So the plan here is Tay Melo is on maternity leave again, so Anna Jay will rock as a solo, so we'll see what we can do to work with her. We thought we'll stare down between Sarii and Megan Bain, so we'll see where that takes us as a 56. Also a 56 with Speedball Mike Bailey over Jay Lethal. An angle with Mariah May was a 71. We had Tekla defeat Thunder Rosa on a 42. Little confrontation between Garcia and Steen was a 62. And the Kings of the Black Thrones defeat the Time Splitters in the main event, which was a 77. It kind of has Alex Shelley questioning a few things with Kushida, and that was a 55. Shockwave. These two have fought before, and I was very shocked that these two had such a great chemistry together and had a great performance, but Nick Wayne defeats Roddy in an 88 for opener. Frustrated by this one, 2/3 of the Trios champions, Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong, beat down AJ Styles and Nick Wayne, 69. Just Anna Jay wishing Tay Melo well in a 58. With Starlight Kid over Suna D, which was a 51. We then had some hype for the Kings of the Black Throne, which is a 56. Sammy Guevara defeats JD Drake in a 71. With a hype video for Mayu, which was a 39. Queen Aminata picks up the victory over the Monet Corporation's Sky Blue, which was a 60. And in turn, this is a little segment where with Tony Storm kind of like looking on, Bailey was trying to maybe do something to help her partner Sky Blue. And obviously Aminata's just kind of siding with Tony Storm in this one. In the main event we talked about, Adam Cole over Kip Sabian was a 62. And we end the show with a 6-man brawl, clearly hinting at something as Undisputed Kingdom battle with Kip Sabian, Nick Wayne and AJ Styles. So there's a few things in certain places that kind of tease stuff and set stuff up for World's End. I think there will be a proper, I keep saying this every time, a clean slate again when we get to the new year, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. I think the way it'll work out, the videos will go next week's go home show, then we'll have the pay-per-view, then what I'll probably do is we'll have the end of year awards show, which I think takes place on the Thursday, so I'll obviously record the Dynamite first, but that video will come after, just so then we can still do the week in AEW. So that to look forward to, and then obviously into the new year, into 2026, and we can see what we can work towards as well. So as always, thank you very much for watching. We're on the road for the Go Home show. We'll see who wins those Continental Classic groups, and then of course at the pay-per-view, the actual Classic itself. So a wee thumbs up appreciated. Then check out the Fantasy Booker subreddit, Grey Dog Software forums, twdb.com. and be the wicked that ever said that. I don't even know at this point. But anyway, cheers for watching. Take it easy. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.